They made him delete 10 years of his life while laughing in his face. Shi Feng was the strongest sword god, and his own guild had the audacity to betray him. They forced him to wipe his level 200 account for a check that couldn't even buy back a single day of what he had sacrificed. Actual villain behavior. So Shi Feng tore up the contract, drank himself unconscious, and woke up back in time, 6 days before the game even launched. Same dorm room, same family debt breathing down his neck. But this time, he knew every hidden quest, every broken exploit, every secret the developers probably hoped nobody would ever find. While the so-called pros were still fighting low-level mobs, Shi Feng walked straight into a hell mode dungeon with a party of random noobs. No warm-ups, no tutorials, just straight violence. He equipped a cursed blade that could permanently cripple his character. A weapon so risky that most players wouldn't touch it with a 10-meter pole. Inside the dungeon waited a Lord-rank boss that literally froze time itself. Every attack was calculated down to the single digit. One mistake and his character was cooked. The boss unleashed its final attack. The entire dungeon warped. Shi Feng barely managed to block the ripple of death with 90 HP left. One wrong move and it was game over, but instead he claimed the world's first clear. This is how the strongest sword god rewrote his history. 10 years of blood and sweat vanished with a single signature. After leading the Shadow Guild to the peak of the gaming world, Shi Feng is betrayed by the very corporation he built, forced to delete his level 200 Sword King account and leave with nothing but a hollow settlement. The loss is crushing, but as he drinks away his bitterness, he wakes up to a miracle. He has been reincarnated 10 years into the past. It is the dawn of the legendary game God's Domain, and this time, Shi Feng refuses to be a tool for others. With a decade of elite knowledge and secret strategies locked in his mind, he skips the corporate recruitment lines to build his own empire from scratch. This path is dangerous because he starts with 0 credits and only 10 days of free game time to prove himself. He drags his loyal friend Blackie into the gamble, promising a rise to power that sounds like a fever dream to anyone else. Once inside the game, Shi Feng ignores the crowded hunting grounds and head-on combat that distracts other players. Instead, he hunts down a legendary unique quest hidden in a dark alley. The clock is ticking because every second in reality is worth 2 in the digital world of God's Domain. Shi Feng enters this massive new reality with a secret edge. He lived this life before and knows exactly how to break the game. To stay ahead of the millions of players flooding the starter towns, he ignores the standard path and dumps all his power into speed, a strategy no one will discover for weeks. This massive gamble makes him faster than anyone else, but it leaves him weak and vulnerable in a world where everyone is racing to level up. This leads him to a dark alley to hunt for a legendary mission that only one person can ever complete. He finds a starving beggar and accepts a suicidal contract to assassinate the town mayor, a powerful leader protected by elite guards. This forces him to risk an immediate death sentence and total exile from the city just as his journey begins. However, this comes at a cost, as he must now kill a high-level boss while he is still at his weakest. And that's when things change as he marches toward the town hall to commit a crime that will either make him a god or end his career before it even starts. The massive crowd in Red Leaf Town creates a desperate struggle as thousands of players fight over a few simple tasks, leaving everyone stuck with no way to progress. Shi Feng knows he cannot waste hours waiting in line like a common amateur, especially since he carries a secret advantage from a past life. He needs money fast to start a high-level hidden quest, so he targets a lonely warrior in the crowd. By selling a secret hunting location for 10 copper coins, he tricks the man into giving up his starting wealth. This bold move gives Shi Feng the funds he needs, but it also marks him as a target for the frustrated players watching from the sidelines. With the coins in hand, Shi Feng buys a bag of cheap tomatoes and heads straight for the powerful town mayor. Instead of asking for a mission, he begins hurling the fruit at the leader's face while shouting insults, causing the surrounding players to freeze in pure shock. This aggressive act instantly destroys his reputation with the town's leadership, turning the mayor into a horizontal killing machine. However, this is all part of a dangerous plan to exploit the game's hidden rules. The mayor roars in a blind rage and charges at Shi Feng with lethal intent, forcing the young man to move instantly or face a permanent death. The town mayor's roar shakes the hall as he lunges at Shi Feng with killing intent, his fist moving so fast it seems impossible to dodge. Most players expect Shi Feng to be crushed instantly by the level 15 elite, but he calmly draws his sword to block the blow just in time. Yet he lands on his feet with only a sliver of health remaining. This desperate defense forces the mayor to lose his temper and reveal a terrifying secret as his clothes tear away to show a monster covered in black fur. The mayor is actually an evil werewolf spy, and this transformation triggers the town guards to jump into the fray to protect the citizens. The powerful guards quickly swarm the beast, using heavy strikes to pin him down, while Shi Feng dances on the edge of death to stay out of reach. This creates a window for the guards to drain the monster's life, allowing Shi Feng to snatch the mayor's insignia from the corpse before vanishing into the crowd. By surviving the initial strike and exposing the traitor, he completes a hidden quest that catapults him to the top of the leaderboards in record time. He brings the trophy to a mysterious beggar in a dark alley, receiving a luxury treasure box that holds the key to his future power. This victory leaves the rest of the players in total shock as news of the dead mayor and the mysterious swordsman spreads like wildfire across the world. Shi Feng steps into the dark alley of Red Leaf Town, knowing that the glowing treasure in his hands could get him killed if any other player spots it. He opens the luxurious ornament box to find a mysterious iron ring of gravity, a prize far more powerful than the one from his past life. This rare item boosts his stats and grants him a gravity-defying skill, but he needs more than just raw power to survive the early game. To unlock his true potential, he must secure a specific swordsman skill book, forcing him to head toward the dangerous black market to take on a challenge that most players consider impossible. Inside the black market, Shi Feng encounters Stabbing Heart, a legendary elite who is currently struggling and desperate for coins to retry a difficult trial. Seeing an opportunity, Shi Feng lends the expert the money at a high interest rate before stepping onto the field himself to claim the first clear reward. The crowd watches with doubt, expecting the newcomer to fail where experts have fallen, but Shi Feng knows the patterns of the musket fire. As the gnomes aim their weapons and the timer begins to count down, he prepares to use his future knowledge to outmaneuver the system and cement his lead over every other player in the game. The instant the countdown ends, Shi Feng lunges forward with the speed of a leopard, risking his life to beat a challenge most veterans consider impossible. He is trapped in a corridor of gunfire where a single hit means instant failure and a massive loss of experience. While rival experts watch from the sidelines, expecting him to die at the 15-yard mark, Shi Feng uses his sword to deflect bullets mid-air with impossible precision. This isn't just a race for him, it is a desperate grab for the resources he needs to stay ahead of the massive player wave. He pushes his low-level body to the absolute limit, dodging a final cheating volley of 24 bullets to cross the finish line in record time. This victory changes everything for his survival odds by rewarding him with a silver coin and the super rare skill, Thundering Flash. This powerful area of effect attack is a game-changer that most high-level players never even see, giving him a massive combat advantage in the early game. Instead of playing it safe like the shocked onlookers, Shi Feng immediately spends his winnings on explosive items and heads into a dangerous level 5 forest. By entering a zone where monsters can one-shot a normal player, he is betting everything on his new skill to level up at lightning speed. He is no longer just another player, he has become a ghost in the system, hunting in areas where no one else dares to step. Shi Feng is a level 1 player stepping into the Red Leaf Forest, a restricted zone filled with level 5 monsters that can kill him in just 2 hits. His survival depends on reaching a hidden treasure mountain to claim a secret silver chest before a rival guild can find it. If he succeeds, he will gain rare forging designs worth a fortune, but a single mistake against the forest's wolf packs will result in an instant death. When a pack of 7 wolves traps him, he is forced to activate his gravity liberation skill, pushing his speed to the limit to barely escape with his life. This escape leads him to the mountain, where he must use his gravity-defying powers to climb steep cliffs while fighting rock giants. Though these monsters have massive health and defense, Shi Feng uses explosive berries to slow their movements, turning them into helpless targets for his blade. This clever strategy allows him to level up to 2 in only 20 minutes, a feat that usually takes other players hours of grinding. However, his luck takes a dangerous turn when he discovers a level 6 special elite rock giant guarding a cave. To secure his future, he must now face a boss that usually requires 15 players to defeat, risking everything on a fight where he is hopelessly outnumbered. Shi Feng faces a deadly gamble as he wakes the slumbering rock giant Shrews, a special elite monster with enough power to crush him in a single hit. The mountain-sized enemy possesses a terrifying defense and a regeneration rate that heals its wounds faster than Shi Feng can cut through them. Survival seems impossible for a level 2 player, especially when Shrews triggers a massive area attack that rains sharp rocks from the ceiling to wipe out anyone in the cave. However, Shi Feng uses his superior agility and explosive items to stay alive, waiting for the one moment the giant overreaches. The tide turns when Shrews enters a state of exhaustion after his ultimate move, cutting his defenses in half and giving Shi Feng a desperate window to strike. Even as the giant shrinks and grows faster in a final rage, Shi Feng activates his hidden skills to boost his own speed, trading blows until his stamina almost hits 0. With a final perfectly timed strike, he shatters the monster into rubble and claims a rare bronze shield and a legendary parry skill. This victory pushes him toward level 3 and grants him high-tier gear, but his journey takes a dark turn when he reaches the mountain peak. Instead of the treasure he expected, he triggers a hidden quest that traps him in a mysterious land and cuts off all contact with the outside world, leaving him isolated and hunted. Trapped in the mysterious lost lands, Shi Feng discovers he has triggered a rare hidden quest called Past Glory. While other players are already pulling ahead in levels, he is stuck in a silent, ruined city that once rivaled the greatest capitals in the world. He realizes that if he fails this unknown mission, he risks a permanent attribute penalty that would effectively cripple his career as a swordsman. With his survival odds dropping every hour he stays behind, he tracks down a mysterious elder and boldly chooses the hell difficulty, gambling his entire future on a high-stakes test of skill. The challenge forces Shi Feng to face a literal ocean of 1,000 Spectre warriors alone. To survive, he uses the narrow stairs of a ruined mage tower as a choke point, turning a suicidal field battle into a series of controlled duels. His mastery of area of effect skills allows him to tear through the undead, eventually earning him a legendary fine gold treasure chest and a powerful magic weapon. Having survived the impossible, he returns to the starting town with elite rewards and a new title, ready to help his struggling teammate close the gap and dominate the leaderboards. Shi Feng finds himself in a dangerous position after obtaining a fine gold treasure chest, a prize so rare that entire guilds start wars to claim it. He knows that showing off such wealth in public would make him a target for every high-level player, risking his life and his progress in the game. To stay safe, he retreats to a quiet alley where he discovers the Abyssal Blade, a cursed magic weapon with the power to make him a god or destroy his account forever. Because he is under immense pressure to earn a massive amount of credits in just 10 days, he decides to hide the blade and focus on more reliable gains. He finds top-tier armor and rare crafting books in the chest, giving him the tools to build a financial empire and become a master blacksmith. This haul significantly boosts his survival odds, but he still needs a large amount of starting capital to fund his next move. To get the money he needs, Shi Feng sets up a shop in the trade area to sell high-level gear, deliberately using a rare bronze shield to bait wealthy buyers. This move immediately draws the attention of Shadow, a hostile guild that tries to bully him into selling his items for almost nothing. However, Shi Feng keeps his cool and waits for a better offer, eventually selling everything to the Assassin's Alliance for a small fortune in silver. This trade humiliates his rivals and gives him the funds to buy specialized supplies, like smoke bombs and potions, for a secret quest. Shi Feng teams up with his friend Blackie to begin a high-stakes grind. He has successfully turned a moment of extreme risk into a position of total dominance, but the Shadow Guild is already hunting him, turning his quest for wealth into a fight for his life. Shi Feng and his friend Blackie venture into the dangerous Dark Moon Valley to hunt high-level monsters, a move that looks like a suicide mission to any normal player. Their survival odds seem low until they stumble upon a rare elite snow fox, a powerful creature that offers massive rewards but possesses enough strength to kill them both in seconds. Shi Feng risks everything by engaging the beast alone, using a clever combination of items and high-level tactics to strip away the monster's defenses. Just as he gains the upper hand and prepares for the final blow, the situation turns deadly when a hidden assassin from the Shadow Workshop lunges from the shadows to claim the kill and Shi Feng's life. This betrayal forces Shi Feng into a desperate two-front war, where one wrong move means losing his hard-earned levels and his head start in the game. The Snow Fox enters a berserk rage, increasing its power and health, while the assassin waits to strike the moment Shi Feng tries to dodge the monster's teeth. Shi Feng is now trapped between a leveling-up monster and a cold-blooded player, risking his life and his reputation as an expert. To survive, he must balance his fading health against two lethal threats, knowing that failing here would give his enemies exactly what they want. Shi Feng is one hit away from death, trapped between a deadly snow fox and a traitorous player named Quiet Wolf. With only 31 health left, his survival odds look zero, especially since his teammate is too far away to help. However, Shi Feng uses his years of experience to bait both enemies into a trap. He uses a parry skill to block the fox and then physically tosses the beast into Quiet Wolf's path. The monster bites the traitor for massive damage, killing him instantly and turning the tide of the battle. This clever move not only saves Shi Feng's life but rewards him with rare bronze-tier gear and a powerful new staff for his partner, Blackie. But this victory creates a new problem as the humiliated Quiet Wolf lies to his guild leader, Flaming Tiger, to start a manhunt. While a small army of players hunts them down, Shi Feng ignores the danger to focus on a hidden quest that could make him rich. He leads Blackie to a secret forge and waits hours just to speak with a master blacksmith. To complete the mission, they must infiltrate a dangerous mine filled with level 4 monsters that outmatch them. Shi Feng uses special items like smoke bombs and beer to trick the monsters' senses, lowering their guard so the duo can farm experience safely. This calculated risk puts them ahead of every other player, but they must work fast before their enemies catch up. Shi Feng and Blackie are trapped in a high-stakes race against time and level gaps. To survive the deadly kobold mines, Shi Feng uses a clever trick with black steel beer to lower the perceived level of the monsters, allowing Blackie to blast them from a safe distance. This strategy pays off massively as Blackie hits level 2, and they collect almost all the meteorite ore needed for their secret plans. The power shift is clear when Shi Feng reaches level 3 and unlocks a hidden agility skill, granting him superhuman reflexes and speed just as a rare bronze rank item drops to boost his stats even further. But this success creates a new problem as their rapid progress draws the wrong kind of attention. While a player named Lonely Snow invites them to a dangerous level 2 dungeon, other veterans are already plotting to cast them aside and take the loot for themselves. However, the true threat arrives much faster than expected. Just as they prepare to finish their mission, 3 assassins from a rival guild emerge from the shadows to execute a cold-blooded revenge. This forces Shi Feng to move with lightning speed to save his partner, and that's when the battle for their lives truly begins. 3 assassins from the Shadow Guild ambush Blackie, nearly draining his health in a desperate grab for his rare equipment. Though Blackie is cornered and prepared to die, he fires a single dark arrow that nearly obliterates the lead assassin in one hit. This massive damage comes from his high-level spells and superior staff, shocking the attackers who realize how powerful his gear truly is. Their greed only grows as they rush in to finish him off, but just as the final blow is about to land, Shi Feng flashes onto the scene. With inhuman speed, he blocks all 3 attacks at once and counters with a burst of lightning that deletes the assassins instantly. This intervention saves Blackie's life, but the threat remains high as more enemies close in to surround them. Knowing his body cannot handle the mental strain of a long fight against so many players, Shi Feng chooses to retreat and leads Blackie away from the mine. The enemy leader, Flaming Tiger, celebrates their escape because it leaves him in control of a secret high-level grinding spot. He envisions himself becoming the top player in the game by exploiting this location to level up his guild members rapidly. Blackie is furious that their hard-earned secret has been stolen by such shameless people, but Shi Feng remains strangely calm. He watches the timer on his system panel with a cold smile, knowing that the enemies are walking into a trap and their happiness will soon turn into total disaster. He knows the secret to their success is a temporary smoke bomb he planted, and the timer is about to hit 0. If the smoke vanishes, the massive army of monsters will stop being blind and tear the thieves apart, turning the enemy's stolen treasure into a death trap. The trap springs perfectly as the smoke clears, and the angry monsters instantly slaughter the confused shadow members. As the cowards flee, their levels dropping and their dreams of power shattered, Shi Feng steps out of the shadows to finish the job. He toyed with Flaming Tiger, using superior speed and a calculated lightning strike to delete the leader's remaining health. By the time the dust settles, Shi Feng has not only reclaimed his territory but also collected all the gold, ore, and rare skills the thieves gathered for him. He stands stronger than ever, while his enemies are left broke and broken at level 0. The members of Shadow are back at the starting town, but they aren't celebrating. After being wiped out by Shi Feng, they have lost their hard-earned levels and skills, falling behind the average player. Their leader, Flaming Tiger, is especially furious because he realized his most valuable item, a rare swordsman skill book, dropped during the fight. To make matters worse, his boss calls to strip him of his leadership for this failure, leaving him with nothing but a burning desire for revenge. Meanwhile, Shi Feng is already using that stolen skill to become faster and more dangerous than ever. This victory has given him the mobility he needs to survive, but a new shadow is already moving to take Flaming Tiger's place. The danger only grows as Shi Feng turns in his items to a master blacksmith, hoping to unlock a powerful forging talent. Instead of a reward, he is hit with a sudden time-limited quest to kill a kobold chieftain, a boss-level monster far stronger than anything he has faced. This creature has massive health and armor that can block most physical attacks, making it a nightmare for a low-level player. Shi Feng realizes he was tricked by old information and must now risk everything to defeat the beast before the clock runs out. With the boss recovering health every few seconds and surrounded by guards, Shi Feng is forced to consider using a secret, dangerous trump card just to stay in the game. The clock is ticking and Shi Feng faces a nightmare as a massive kobold chieftain blocks his only path to success. With only 20 minutes left to finish his quest, he knows a normal fight is impossible because his gear is too weak and his level is too low. If he fails now, he loses his only chance at a legendary hidden quest forever. To survive, he makes a desperate gamble by binding the cursed abyssal blade to his soul. This legendary magic weapon is famous for making users unstoppable, but it comes with a terrifying price. The moment he touches it, his level resets to 0 and his strength vanishes, leaving his partner Blackie terrified that they have already lost. But this sacrifice creates a hidden advantage that changes everything. As the sword's dark power flows through him, Shi Feng's physical stats explode far beyond his previous limits, giving him the health of a high-level tank and the speed of an elite assassin. He ignores the risk of the blade's permanent curse and charges the monster with insane speed. His new weapon ignores the enemy's armor and strikes with lightning-fast precision, tearing through the boss' health in seconds. This sudden surge in power turns a hopeless suicide mission into a slaughter. Shi Feng is no longer a weak player struggling to survive. He has become a monster in human form, ready to crush the chieftain and claim his destiny. The kobold chieftain is pushed into a murderous frenzy after Shi Feng's surprise attack, and now the young warrior faces a boss that is 4 times stronger than any enemy he has met before. Every swing of the monster's giant axe threatens to end the fight instantly, forcing Shi Feng to retreat while dodging falling rubble and bone-crushing blows. He is losing health rapidly and his survival odds look grim, but he manages to use a high-level technique to interrupt the monster's rhythm. This small opening allows him to unleash a massive combo that strips away the boss's health, yet this only makes the creature more dangerous as it switches to dual blades for faster, more lethal strikes. Just as the chieftain goes completely berserk and grows in size, Shi Feng finds himself trapped with all his best skills on cooldown. The monster mocks him before launching a final killing blow, but Shi Feng uses a nearby enemy to reposition himself at the very last second. This desperate gamble pays off because it buys him just enough time for his lightning skill to reset. With a final desperate strike, he pierces the boss and secures a massive experience boost that nearly levels him up instantly. By surviving this encounter through pure skill and luck, he becomes the first player to ever slay a chieftain, walking away with a mountain of rare loot and a reputation that will change his future in the game. The kobold chieftain explodes into a shower of coins and rare loot, but the victory feels heavy because the fight nearly pushed the team to their breaking point. Shi Feng stands calm while his partner, Blackie, sits paralyzed by the stress of a battle where a single mistake meant instant death. This win is a massive turning point because it proves Shi Feng has transformed from an average player into a cold, calculating expert with a master's heart. He risks his own growth to mentor Blackie, teaching him a secret high-level stat build that turns a weak mage into a fast-casting powerhouse. By sharing his knowledge and the best loot, Shi Feng ensures his only ally is strong enough to survive the brutal challenges ahead. The rewards from the kill are massive, including a violent giant axe that could start a bidding war among the top guilds. Shi Feng uses the chieftain's head to complete a hidden quest, earning the rare forging genius talent, which allows him to level up his crafting skills twice as fast as anyone else. However, this success creates a new problem because he now needs a fortune in gold and rare designs to actually use his new powers. To get them, he must risk entering the Deathly Forest, a place where the best equipment designs are hidden. As he prepares to leave, a master forger notices the rusty black sword on his hip, realizing that the weapon Shi Feng carries is far more dangerous and magical than it appears. Shi Feng faces a deadly crisis because the abyssal blade carries an ancient evil curse that threatens to devour his soul and permanently slash his power in half. To survive, he tracks down Master Jack, a legendary forger who reveals that only a rare lucky stone can suppress the sword's dark hunger. In a stroke of massive fortune, Shi Feng already possesses a star crystal, which allows Jack to remodel the weapon and stabilize the curse. This upgrade significantly boosts Shi Feng's survival odds, giving him the raw strength he needs to lead his team into the high-level Deathly Forest dungeon without being consumed by his own blade. However, a new problem emerges when Shi Feng arrives at the dungeon and meets a group of arrogant players. Because he spent time fixing his sword, he is still only level 1 and wears basic gear, causing the party leaders to mock him as a low-level fraud. The leaders demand he leave, fearing his low level will lead to a total party wipe and cost them valuable experience. Shi Feng calmly exits the group, but his loyal friend Lonely Snow chooses to follow him, betting his future on Shi Feng's hidden strength. Now, Shi Feng must prove his skill in the dungeon or lose his reputation and his only allies in this dangerous world. The stakes are high at the entrance of the Deathly Forest, as Shi Feng risks his reputation and survival by trying to enter the dangerous dungeon at only level 1. Most players mock him, seeing his low level and poor gear as a death sentence for any team he leads. This creates a massive problem for his goals, as strong warriors refuse to join a leader they think is a noob. However, the tide turns when Lonely Snow chooses to stay loyal and Blackie reveals his hidden power. By activating the glow of his 3 pieces of rare bronze gear, Blackie proves they have the strength to survive. This move forces the surrounding players to change their minds, turning their mockery into desperate interest. While the elitist leader waving slowly tries to steal Shi Feng's teammates with promises of easy loot, Blackie's refusal solidifies the team's bond. Shi Feng gains the upper hand by setting strict requirements for new members, ensuring only the best players can join his push into the forest. This shift in power dramatically increases his odds of survival, changing him from a joke into a leader of a high-tier squad. Just as the team is ready to move, a sudden disturbance at the dungeon entrance reveals a legendary figure, suggesting that the risks ahead are even greater than they imagined. Shi Feng must now navigate this new threat if he wants to conquer the dungeon and prove his doubters wrong. The arrival of the legendary goddess Gentle Snow and the lethal flame witch Zhao Yuru turns the leveling grounds into a chaotic spectacle. Their presence creates a massive crowd of distracted players, which completely ruins Shi Feng's chances of recruiting a professional team. While the crowd is mesmerized by the beauties, Shi Feng is stuck with a weak party and a ticking clock. He needs to enter the Deathly Forest dungeon to maintain his lead, but the surrounding players mock him for his low level and tattered gear. This distraction is more than an annoyance. It threatens to stall his progress entirely while other experts are already failing and dying inside the dungeon. To fix this, Shi Feng is forced to take a desperate risk by lowering his recruitment standards to the absolute limit. He begins shouting that his party can clear the dungeon in a single run with no level requirements, a claim that most veterans find laughable and delusional. This bold move damages his reputation with the elite players watching, but it successfully draws in a group of desperate level 1 rookies. By settling for a team of total beginners, Shi Feng drastically lowers his survival odds and increases the mechanical pressure on himself. He must now carry a group of nobodies through a lethal zone just to prove his strength and keep his mission alive. The crowd of high-level players laughs as Shi Feng gathers a team of weak level 1 nobodies for the Deadly Forest dungeon. These elites have already failed and died, so they watch with total disdain, expecting Shi Feng to be humiliated. Even the famous expert Gentle Snow dismisses him as a delusional amateur because he lacks a proper guild or strong gear. But this creates a hidden advantage for Shi Feng, as the low expectations allow him to recruit players the guilds have ignored. He specifically hunts for recruits who haven't wasted their attribute points yet, seeking raw potential over current power. This strategy is his only way to survive a dungeon that has already crushed superior teams. During the recruitment, Shi Feng discovers a shy young guardian knight named Kola who is desperate for a chance. Shi Feng realizes this boy will eventually become a legendary world-class tank known as the Tyrant Bear. This discovery changes his survival odds instantly, giving him the chance to claim a future elite before any major guild can snatch him up. However, this comes at a cost, as Shi Feng demands absolute loyalty and forces the recruits to promise they won't leave for better guilds later. While the other players mock them for making such a heavy commitment to a weak leader, Shi Feng's party is actually the most balanced group on the field. With a future legend now under his command, the gamble is set, and the party finally steps into the shadows of the forest to prove the experts wrong. Shi Feng is gambling everything on a suicide mission that has the entire forest laughing at him. To get the rare forging designs he needs, he rejects the safe path and drags his low-level team into the hell mode of the Deathly Forest. This decision is insane because the death penalty is doubled, meaning a single mistake will wipe out hours of their hard-earned progress. His teammates are white with fear and his rivals are waiting for him to fail, but Shi Feng knows that high risks are the only way to gain a massive lead over the elite players. The team steps into the pitch-black Deathly Forest, where one wrong turn means a slow, mysterious death. Shi Feng knows this hell mode dungeon is a graveyard for the unprepared, so he forces his terrified allies into a rigid formation. He places the knight Kola at the front as a human shield. While they are holding their ground, they are playing like traditional gamers and taking far too much damage. Shi Feng knows that if they don't change their style, the healer will run out of mana and they will all die. He steps in not to fight, but to lead, teaching his tank how to dodge instead of just blocking. This is a massive risk because the team currently views him as a weak amateur, but his advice works perfectly. By shifting their tactics, the team easily kills the monster and gains rare loot, which Shi Feng selflessly shares to build loyalty for his future guild. The boss Willie lies sleeping in the open field, but the piece is a trap. Shi Feng knows that a single mistake against this chieftain will bury his entire team, so he spends his extra attribute points to reach 30 agility for a hidden flexibility boost. This choice is vital because it allows him to survive the boss' terrifying speed, yet the risk remains high as his teammates are still inexperienced. He explains the deadly skills they must dodge, but his party is terrified because they are only level 1 and entering the hardest difficulty of the forest. The pressure mounts as the fight begins and Willie's steel claws instantly send their tank flying, proving that their current defense is barely enough to keep them alive. Shi Feng takes control of the chaos by using his superior speed and then the abyssal blade to bleed the boss, rotating the monster's focus to keep his allies safe. Just as they think they have the advantage, Willie enters a berserk state and vanishes into a killing frenzy that nearly drains Shi Feng's health to 0. They manage to strike the final blow, but the celebration is cut short when a massive Lord-rank werewolf leaps from the shadows. This new enemy has double the health and a roar that could spell certain doom for the exhausted party. Shi Feng realizes his survival odds have just plummeted, forcing him to instantly bind the creature before it can alert the rest of the forest and wipe them out. Meanwhile, Shi Feng leads his team into the terrifying hell mode to hunt the legendary werewolf Felt. This boss is a nightmare that can freeze players with a stare and slaughter them with blinding speed. Shi Feng must act as the primary shield, using his superior agility to dance through a storm of claws. One wrong move means an instant party wipe, but Shi Feng knows exactly when to command his team to interrupt the boss's deadly roars. The battle turns desperate when the werewolf reaches 30% health and unleashes a massive shockwave. To save his team, Shi Feng uses a clone to absorb the impact, barely surviving with a sliver of health. But the true danger begins at 10% health when the boss enters a blood-red berserk state, doubling its power. Shi Feng forces the team into a perfect kiting loop, using every skill to trap the beast while the mages wear it down. They finally slay the monster and become the first to clear Hell Mode, earning the ultra-rare Crimson Blade and massive experience. Shi Feng stands before a mountain of rare loot, but his eyes stay fixed on the Crimson Blade. This secret silver sword is the ultimate prize, and once he reaches level 5, it will make his attack power invincible. He leaves the treasure unassigned to test his teammates, watching for any sign of greed or betrayal. To his relief, they remain disciplined and wait for his command, proving they are a team he can finally trust. This loyalty allows him to distribute gear that turns his ragtag group into a force that could rival a professional guild. The victory provides more than just weapons, because Shi Feng discovers a mysterious elven notebook that never appeared in his past life. This unknown item is a high-stakes wildcard that forces him to head to the city library to decode its secrets. With his team now stronger and more loyal than ever, he leads them toward the Dark Moon Valley to hunt for rare materials. This move shifts his focus from simple survival to building a massive lead over every other player, giving him the power to control the future of the game.